Hi everyone, welcome to HR Without Borders, the podcast powered by SD Worx for international companies. If you are an HR or payroll manager operating across multiple countries, you are in the right place. I'm your host, 𝘲𝘀 𝘍𝗲, and in this very first episode, we are going to dive in one of the most important challenges that international companies face: how to build up a right HR and payroll strategy within their company. Today, I'm joined by Pirashan. He's one of SD Worx experts that has helped international companies, countless of them, to set up the right strategy for their company. Welcome, Pirashan, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Liz, for inviting me to this session. I'm very interested to share my experience with the audience.
Thanks. Okay, so let's go and dive into the topic of today.
Yes.
Let's start from the basics. Global and HR payroll strategy can sound like a really huge and overwhelming concept, but how would you define it, and why it's so important for international companies to have one?
It's very funny that you are saying that HR strategy is very overwhelming sometimes for companies. But if you look at it, HR and payroll strategy, it's one of the old pillars of existing business concepts, because any business needs for years, like even 1,000 years, like really in HR administration, you need to know who's working for you, who's doing what kind of work for you. You need to pay them, reward them in the right way for the labor they have provided. So it's not something new. What is new, or what might feel new, is adapting their current strategy, which whatever it may be. It can just be like minimum ticking the administrative work and then thinking that you're done. Could be a strategy, but that might be outdated in today's current situation. And I think that's the very much of the overwhelming experience by companies who are not assessing their strategy continuously every year. They might have a big backlog on having the strategy on par with whatever is needed today in the working climate.
We are living in a really fast changing world. We are watching every day something new, new regulations, new technologies, new expectations for employees. And so I think that a lot of HR managers and payroll managers wonder, okay, is this really the right time to invest in a global payroll strategy? What are your thoughts about that?
The question is more, not is it the right time? You always need to invest in HR and payroll. It depends on how much do you need to invest. So, and that depends again, how much is your HR and payroll strategy being on par, being continuously improved, because it's a continuous improvement that you need to do. If that hasn't been done and modernized quite frequently in the last couple of years, decades, then the investment is going to be much more than you might anticipate or that you want. But the only problem with that is the more you wait, the expense is only going to go up. So investing and then getting it on par with what it should be is the most wise way to do. And then afterwards, you can lower your budget for regular investment to have a continuous improvement. And once in a while, obviously, you will have a little bit of a peak. But what I see with a lot of companies in the market, really a lot of companies, if you look at core business compared to HR and payroll, core business is always having more priority. They are always more advanced in investments and being on par with market level. Totally understandable. But on the other side, the HR and payroll is not coming along with it. It's still being an administrative blocker rather than being an strategic value-adding discipline within the organization. So I would say if you have a backlog, you need to invest immediately. If you are a little bit of a backlog, reconsider, but the more you delay continuous improvements investments, the more you need to invest in a later stage. So it's just postponing your investment.
Yes, it's like to postpone an inevitable change, and that maybe if you do it in the future, it's going to cost you more of what you expected. So it's maybe better now than ever.
True, exactly. It's. I mean, let's be honest. Change is the most common thing in the world. So you always have change. So is the world changing? Yeah, of course, but it will keep changing. So how long do you want to drag it on?
Exactly. Well, I think that is like an enlightened insight that a lot of HR managers would say, oh, I never thought it that way.
Exactly.
You talk with companies, HR leaders, payroll managers every day. You know better than anyone their pains, their challenges, their expectations, their needs. And I think that has gave you also the experience to overseeing how the world is going to be in the future. So with all this AI new practice within companies, how do you think AI will transform HR and payroll practices for international companies?
It will have a radical change, but it won't go that fast as people might want, think, or being discussed at the moment. One of the things that it will become, the administrative tasks will go away to the back end. So that will be automated. It will go in more integrated systems. So that will be gone. What you will have is, instead of having a payroll administrator, you will have a payroll data analyst. You will have an HR data analyst to have a monitoring on what is going on in the flows, if all the systems, are they working enough. And then you have HR business partners. They will have a slightly different role. That will become more strategic, and that's also required if you look at the future of work, future of whatever we are. Technology is going to be more and more part of daily life of everyone. It's not related to HR and payroll, it's everyone. So, and also autonomous. With AI, it becomes more autonomous. Now, in Netherlands, it's approved that Teslas can drive autonomously. So that means there are other things that will come as well. And then as an organization, you need to be strategically aware of future of how do we need to be compliant as a company towards the future to facilitate that for our employees, facilitate that for our board to make proper decisions how we can expand. For example, if we are going to ask our employees to have company cars, which is electric and manually, are we going to allow them to have the car driving by itself? That's a policy that we need to think of. These kind of things that will become more and more important. But at the moment, a majority of the companies are really not ready for being strategically a business partner on the board level table, and that's something that needs to happen. Once that happened in the longer term future, managers and board will be more equipped, so they can just talk to chat box, which is linked to all their HR and payroll systems, and then have a conversation. I want to start up my company in XYZ country. What are the tick boxes that I need to tick? What do I need to think of? And what do I need to ask my HR specialist to help me with? And that kind of conversation will happen naturally, like you are doing it now already with 𝘁𝗵𝗿.
Yeah.
It will happen with the HR systems, but then more in a closed circuit, because obviously you can't share everything on the public, but it needs to be very private.
Okay, great. So, well, let's see if we are going to be able to see that future with AI agents and AI advisors. I would say that we can wrap up in a nutshell that maybe because payroll, sometimes it's being looked like a operational task. Most HR managers and payroll managers underestimate the real value of having a right strategy of payroll linked with HR. Do you see actually how some companies treat these two topics in a separate ways? Is that the right way, or we cannot speak about payroll without HR?
I think you can't separate it. It's actually, you have the HR pillar is one end, the output end is the finance side of it. But I think if you fix the input layer first, then the output layer should provide the output that needs to be provided. But whenever you implement such a strategy, you always need to look at the output first and then base your implementation strategy on it. So then on a business as usual situation, everything what happens in the front end, so from an HR perspective, that will flow naturally into payroll, and then payroll process it, and then the company can make their decision based on the output what has been done, and then assess it against the forecast. So we forecast X and the result is Y. Why did that happen? How can we manage that in a proper way?
Okay. So I would think that now our viewers and listeners are thinking, okay, having the right global HR and payroll strategy is important. Not only thinking about processes, but also thinking about how to face possible risk, how to face compliance, how to face employee trust and employee experience. It is important to have one. It is important to analyze your company landscape. But then the main question is, okay, who can help me to do that? What could be like this ideal partner that can help me to get to that ideal HR and payroll strategy and landscape for my international company? So according to your experience, how would you say are the top 5 more important things that a company should look for a vendor?
That's a good question. First of all, I will always encourage companies to look for a partner anyway. Don't try to create the wheel yourself. Do create a vision yourself, what you want to vision, what you want to implement, and also in a way that fits your core business, so that shouldn't be too far away from your core business and your company culture. But then go for a partner, and really a partner who has local expertise, because let's be honest, payroll is very locally arranged in terms of rules and regulations, compliance, etc. And the more local they are present, they have connections with authorities, they can make influence the authorities that some regulations need to be implemented later, because otherwise the cost will be higher to be implemented. It's quite a risk. And on the other hand, they can also advise you like how to help a company further. Another element that needs you to look at, especially for international company, there should be a certain level of international governance. So one single point of contact, also governance model that oversees all the countries. So for example, if you have 13 countries, you don't want to speak to 13 countries every time when you have something on the table. So strategic conversations need to happen in a higher level. That needs to be arranged. But there should be a full end-to-end responsibility from the partner side to facilitate any conversation. So it's very agile. So it's not only strategic and operational, it's combined. So that needs to be covered. Also in terms of technology, the partner should really be able to provide technology that matters, that add value to your company and your processes. But don't expect the world. Everyone can promise the world, but you also need to be realistic. If you are doing an acquisition, you are growing, that means you also need to bring your level of quality on a certain level. That also means for the partner. So the partner will grow with you, and you need to look for a partner that also can facilitate your growth. So from 5 employees to, I think, thousands of employees, doesn't really matter. But that's very important. Also technology-wise, governance-wise, that needs to be able to facilitate. Also, a partner who does regular research, who puts a mirror in front of themselves, like, okay, are we doing the right thing to help our clients? Are we honest to ourselves? Are we being the critical friend to ourselves and to our clients? And the 5th one is, yeah, I would say a good network, good presence. And also a good view on environmental and employee well-being. That's also, I think, very important. Sometimes you only have a HR software company. They are very software-driven, but less operational-driven. But still, your operations also in the core business of clients are very important, because they really make the money. So yeah. That's also very important.
And also because I would say that payroll is not something that ends with the implementation project. It's something that is continuously changing, continuously ongoing. It's a living process that you have within your company, and if it's well done, everything you will never even notice that is there.
Yeah.
And when it's not good, then problems comes up. So
true, and actually that's a good point that you raise. It's mostly quiet, but whenever a problem occurs, then it's always a huge problem.
Yeah.
And you need a partner that also accept, like, okay, if there is a problem, there might be a huge problem, but they are willing to help, to partner, to fix that problem as well. You shouldn't have a partner like they walk away when there is a problem arises, because Those problems, when they arise, they are always huge, and the impact is high, depending also on the company's business. If you are in a business with blue-collar workers who's looking at monthly their pay slip, and there is a mistake happened, the impact is much higher for these type of employees. So we need to be a partner, knowing what is the customer business, what does this issue have an impact on their employees. So we need to make sure that we mitigate that issue fast enough.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So, Pirashan, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and knowledge today. I'm pretty sure that our viewers and listeners have like a better idea of why it's important to have the right HR and payroll strategy for your international companies. We hope this episode has added really valuable insights for you if you're an HR or payroll manager. As you could hear from Pirashan, payroll strategy and HR strategy is not only about, have the right process, it's also to have the right structure to face the risk and compliance challenges correctly, and always keep in mind the employee experience and trust, because this could be also, if you don't do it the right way, a human risk for your company. If you find this episode interesting, please share, like, and subscribe. And of course, share it with your colleagues that are facing the same challenges as you. You can also reach out to us through our social media channels and website. See you next time for HR Without Borders, the podcast powered by SD Worx for international companies. Thank you and have a nice day.